Sorry, I can't hear you. It's breaking out. I mean, up. No, it's breaking. It's breaking off. Breaking up. Up. Breaking up. Sorry. Oh, sorry to cut you up. I mean, sorry to cut you out. No, wait. Sorry to cut you off. Sorry to cut you. Sorry to cut you. All right. Time to close off the meeting. No, wait. Close out the meeting. No, just close. And so time to end the meeting. That was me a few years ago. I had been teaching English for a while, but I still struggled to understand and use phrasal verbs confidently. If you could hear my thoughts, that's probably what you would hear. A lot of questions, a lot of doubt, really. Um, cut you off, cut you out, cut you. What is it? Do I need a particle? Do I not need a particle? Sure, I could avoid using phrasal verbs and simply choose a safer route, one word equivalents, instead of sorry to cut you off, maybe sorry to interrupt or sorry to interrupt. Another option is time to end the meeting instead of close out the meeting, right? These are great options. I wouldn't sound less fluent or less natural if I decided to use sorry to interrupt or it's time to end the meeting. These are great. But here's the thing, I did not want to speak English feeling like I was walking on eggshells or just dancing around things. I've always thought to myself, why would I learn a language only to think that I'm not capable of mastering the most complicated or challenging aspects? To me, learning English while ignoring phrasal verbs felt like learning how to play the guitar while ignoring bar chords or trying to avoid them because they're complicated at first. For those of you who don't speak guitar, a bar chord is a more complex chord where you have to press your finger across an entire fret, like this. So, for example, this is the chord F. I sure need to tune this guitar, but you got the idea, right? They require strength, technique, and of course, practice. But once you learn them, a new range of possibilities open up and you can play so many different songs. Sure, you can use a capo, but you may not always have a capo handy. And plus, it's amazing to be able to play different songs and not having to rely on something all the time. It's the same thing with phrasal verbs. You can learn to work around them, but you'll be missing out on nuance, on depth, and on the ability to fully express yourself. If you want to learn how I set out on a mission to make sense of phrasal verbs, stay here because you're about to watch an excerpt from a masterclass that I posted a few months ago. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, and I'm going to make it short. My story with English, with the English language, is very long. But I want to start from this point right here, 2017. That's the year I graduated from college. And right after my graduation, I had the opportunity to study at the University of Texas at Austin. It was a 5-month graduate program, an academic English program. And that was the first time I noticed there was something about my English that was missing. I felt like there was this gap. And I think the first days of my classes and talking to people, I couldn't really tell what it was. I would even ask people, can you give me feedback on my English? And everyone would always be like, oh, your English is great. You speak really well. I mean, wow. And I know my English was pretty good. I could communicate effectively. For the most part, people could understand me really well. And I could understand people, except when I had to order food. I always felt like everyone spoke super fast. So During that time when I was studying um, at this academic English program, this was the moment I realized, like I said, there was something about my English that I wasn't satisfied with. I wasn't. And it was because I felt like I couldn't be myself in English. You know what I'm saying? In Portuguese, when I'm speaking Portuguese, I'm always telling people stories. I like to be funny. I like to add details to my stories. But I felt like I couldn't do the same with English. And although I know when we learn a new language, we change, this changed version felt incomplete. I wanted to be the same. Not that I'm going to speak both languages the same way. They're different languages anyway, right? But I felt like I couldn't be myself. I couldn't tell my funny stories and add the details I wanted. And I remember feeling like, what is it that's missing? That there's something that I see people using all the time, but I can't really tell what it is. Have you ever felt that way? There was a particular aspect of the English language that was used all the time in any situation. And even though it was so common, I still hadn't mastered it. These guys here, phrasal verbs. Like I said at the very beginning of our video, we are kicking off our Demystifying Phrasal Verbs week. Kicking off, we are starting. I noticed that people would use phrasal verbs all the time. And I felt like I hardly ever use them, and sometimes I struggle to understand them. So let me tell you a story of something that happened that started or made me really think about phrasal verbs and start investigating them, know how to use them, and understand them. So one day I was talking to my father-in-law about some documents he had sent me to help me with my student visa application. I wanted to show off. Oh, show off. Here's a phrasal verb too. I wanted to, impress him with my English. I wanted to be like, look at my English, so good. I wanted to show off and be funny. Like I said, I wanted to be myself in English, right? And I told him. So he gave me these documents, right? And those were very private documents, very important documents. And I said, oh, you don't need to worry. Once I don't need these documents anymore, I'm going to burn them down. I'm going to burn down the documents. He looked at me, puzzled. Burn down documents? Burn down? Like, he was so, I don't know if he was confused. I guess he was confused. I don't know. But he had this face like, burn down the documents? Maybe I thought he was thinking I was crazy because I was talking about burning documents. Like, who burns things nowadays, right? But then he told me, well, you can burn down a house, but you can't burn down documents. You just burn documents. So if you're talking about documents, you just burn them. But if you're talking about a house, you can burn down a house. And I was like, oh, thanks. Yeah, I was like, okay. My mind, I'm a very inquisitive person, right? I was like, why? Okay, why can we say the house burned down, but I can't say that documents were burned down? Why can't I say that I'm gonna burn down the documents? I guess I could just say I'm gonna shred the documents, right? Anyways, I realized I couldn't just throw in any preposition I wanted whenever I wanted. No, it wasn't like that. There was something about the English language that allowed for a house to be burned down, but for documents to simply be burned. What was it? What was the logic? Why was down necessary when talking about a fire completely destroying a house? As I played this conversation, over and over in my head. Anyone can relate? I decided I was gonna find the logic that makes English speakers, especially native speakers, use these special verbs that combine with other, you see, like this verb combines with this particle here. Don't worry about the terminology yet. We'll talk all about it. Um, so that's when I began my quest to understand what we call phrasal verbs. And after many years of trying to use and understand phrasal verbs in my everyday interactions, after completing my master's degree in TESOL, TESOL stands for Teaching English. Let me write this here. Teaching English to speakers of other languages. You guys. And after diving into the world of English grammar, I mean, my Christmas gift was literally the grammar book, that huge book. I'm going to try to put a picture here. Yeah, that was my Christmas present back in 2021. I told my husband, please give me a grammar book, this book here. So after all this studying and after finding the field of cognitive linguistics, like I love that so much. Cognitive linguistics has changed my life. Okay, after all this, I can finally say that phrasal verbs make sense. And what's even more exciting is that I can help you make sense of phrasal verbs too. Yeah. All right. Now you're like, okay, you're so excited, teacher Natalie. I like that. But are phrasal verbs really that necessary? I mean, I can get by without them. Get by. I can survive. I'm sure you can. You'll be understood. People will understand you. Sometimes phrasal verbs can get in the way of communication. That's true. But you know what? They're so common that you will inevitably come across phrasal verbs that aren't always that clear, especially if you live in an English speaking country. That's my case. I live in the United States, I live in Wisconsin, and where I live, there are not that many Brazilians compared to other parts of the United States. There are Brazilians here. I mean, Brazilians are everywhere, right? But here, I'm always talking to native speakers, and they always use phrasal verbs all the time. Native speakers don't usually have this skill of making their speech simpler for other learners to understand. In fact, some might even think that phrasal verbs are easier to be used, that they're simpler, you know? Anyways, I'm going to tell you another story, something that happened to my students. And here, the point is to show you that phrasal verbs can be very confusing, even when we have this context, you know, like context always helps, right? But sometimes it's not enough. So back when I was teaching at a technical college here in my area, I was working as an adjunct instructor. I was teaching English here in the US, and every first Monday of the month, we would have the city would have this tornado drill or practice. The sirens would go off. Bam, bam, bam. They would blast, right? And I wanted to tell my students that that was what was happening. The sirens would go off because it was a practice, it was a tornado drill. I had lots of students that were new to the area, so they weren't aware of that. And sometimes the sirens scare them, especially those students who had come from war-torn countries. That's very sad, right? Anyways, so I told them that when the sirens go off, it's just the tornado drill, just practice. There's not an actual tornado happening. And I said, on purpose, because I wanted to test them. I wanted to see how much they knew about phrasal verbs. And I said, when you hear the sirens, when the sirens go off, don't worry, this is just a drill. And they were like confused. They were puzzled. I remember the look on their faces. They were like, oh, wait, but why are you turning off the sirens? And I was like, No, they're going to go off. Off, but teacher, go off means to turn off, right? And I told them, no, not really. Can you see? The context here was perfect. I even said, when you guys hear the sirens, and yeah, I'm sure they were able to connect the information, but it wasn't making a lot of sense to them. They were like, I don't understand. Why do you say that a siren go off? Like, why does it mean that it's ringing? A loud sound. Anyways, you see, phrasal verbs can be confusing sometimes. Yeah, and I never wrote the phrasal verb here, to go off. Yeah, to go off. So when you're sleeping in the morning, your alarm goes off. Just like tornado sirens, they go off too. So in our next video, coming up in just a couple of days, we'll explore what phrasal verbs are, what they do, and of course, I'll share how I learned to make sense of them. I was once very intimidated by phrasal verbs, even when I was teaching more advanced learners. No wonder many studies call phrasal verbs the scourge of the learner. This word, scourge, means something that causes a lot of difficulty, a lot of headache. If this lesson struck a chord with you, right? No pun intended. Why don't you join Light Up Phrasal Verbs Demystified? That's my phrasal verbs course with over 25 pre-recorded lessons that go over the different meanings of the particles, the mini extensions, to better help you understand and use phrasal verbs in your everyday interactions. Also, this time we're offering a teacher's edition of the course. It's Light Up for Teachers. And in this edition, our live sessions are going to be tailored towards helping you, teacher, develop expertise in teaching phrasal verbs. Of course, this will help you better understand phrasal verbs too, but the Light Up for Teachers edition, the live sessions will focus on helping you develop tools to help your students understand and master phrasal verbs too. You can head over to my website or simply click the link in the description below so you can join Light Up and take advantage of all the materials we offer. I am so excited to support you in your journey towards mastering phrasal verbs, towards understanding these verbs that shouldn't give you a headache. That's why I'm here. This week, I want to invite you to be an active participant. Really take advantage of this material. Send comments, questions. I'd love to answer any questions you may have. And I'll see you in the next video, in which we'll talk a little bit more about what phrasal verbs are and the key to understanding them and feeling more confident about using them. So, see you later.